Good morning, welcome to Furry and Spoilt. Today I'm going to talk to you about why dogs eat grass. Now, so I've got 3 dogs and I've never been that bothered about them eating grass. They've always done it. I've had dogs for years and years and years. Um, and my dogs have always eaten grass and I've never really been that bothered about it. Yet I see other dog owners who, like if we're out on a walk and the dog starts eating the grass, they almost get embarrassed and they kind of like panic, like it's a bad thing to do. And I've never felt like that. I've always felt, well, if the dog wants to eat grass, they can. And so I just thought maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should be more concerned about dogs eating grass. And so I decided to do some research on it. And I'll come up and I'll show you what I found out. You might not be able to hear me very well because there's a the dustbin men are just here. But you can see Humps is eating grass here. We're on our walk. I'm not overly concerned. I can guarantee he won't be sick. I'll update you on that later in the video. I think he just eats it because he just likes to eat it. And I sometimes think with him, because of where he's come from, he's a bit of a survival. It's just food. He's not hungry because I feed my dogs before they're walked. I have an hour break in between, but they're fed before they're walked, so they're not hungry on their walks. And I'm pretty sure that he won't be sick after this. So, it just shows you, I think sometimes dogs just eat grass, and I'm really not concerned about this at all. Yeah, so you saw Humps there on his walk. He wasn't sick. There was no problems at all. He just ate grass for eating grass. The thing is like I said in that video, so he's come from Korea, from horrendous situations. And so you kind of expect him to, I wouldn't be that bothered about him eating it. But I've got 2 other dogs, which are here and over there. And they eat grass as well. And I know in the past I've had German Shepherds and all different kinds of breeds. And they've all eaten grass. So, I don't know. Anyway, so let me just go through some things that I found out and my thought. There is definitely a connection that some dogs will sometimes eat grass because they want to be sick. 2 times that really stand out for me is once, Harry here, who is next to me. I was in the garden and I was pruning a buddleia bush and it was covered in bees. And Harry here was with me and I'm just going to move you because it hurts my arm. And Harry was with me, and all of a sudden he started sort of like a coughing sort of noise, like he'd got something stuck in his throat. And then he started eating grass, and it was like loads and loads and loads and loads, and he couldn't really get what he wanted from the grass. So he started to eat this like shrub that was a kind of like a long grass, ornamental grass thing, and he basically just was scoffing this stuff down. And it was completely out of character, and it was a bit concerning, and nothing was happening. I thought, oh, he's going to be sick. He's definitely going to be sick in that back up, and he didn't. But he kept eating and eating it, and he was restless, and he kept going back, and he wasn't okay. And I wondered if he'd been stung by a bee. So it was a Sunday afternoon, and I phoned the vet and said, I think I need one of those. There's an injection they can give that makes your dog sick. They'll give it to them if they've eaten anything poisonous or anything like that. And I said, plus, I think he might have been stung by a bee. I'm not sure. Anyway, so we went in. He hadn't been stung by a bee. And the vet gave him a tablet to make him bee sick. And he just sicked up the grass. There was nothing else. I wondered if he got something stuck. There was nothing else. And then he gave him some anti-sickness tablets. And he was okay. But I really thought then maybe he'd eaten something that had got stuck. And the grass was going to help it. Because often, if you see a dog eating loads and loads and loads of grass like that, it will make them be sick, and it helps them. And another time, Albert over there on the armchair, he had a treat, and upstairs on our stairs, we've got it's like a green bluey kind of carpet, and he has Albert over here. He has brain damage, and so he gets confused about things. And he got it mixed up with grass, and he was frantically trying to eat the carpet. And I knew what he was trying to do. I knew what he had mistaken it for. And so I took him out into the garden and took him to the grass, and he was eating and eating. And I thought he's going to be sick. And then he was sick. And what had happened was he'd had a treat, and he has a tendency to not chew his treats. He just inhales them. And I have to be really careful to make sure that he always has small treats. And I hadn't that time. The treat was too big, and he'd eaten it in one go, and he knew he needed to get it up. So it's a really instinctive thing, eating grass, and I love that. Even like in a little dog like Albert, instinctively he knew that he needed to sick that up. He got something stuck, and the grass would do it. Grass definitely does that. If they're feeling really sick, it will, because their system can't digest it. It will make them be sick. Sometimes what will happen if they eat grass, it will come out when they go to the toilet. It will just come out as grass. It hasn't digested at all. And sometimes what can happen is if they've eaten grass, when they go, sorry for, if this is too much information, but when they go to the toilet, it can sometimes get stuck. And so you might sometimes have to pull, and you will pull out strands of grass. That doesn't happen often. I've hardly had that ever happen, but it has happened. So it's something to be aware of. But having said that, those events, they eat grass maybe at least once a week, I'd say, out on our walk. They don't really eat it in the garden much. They do sometimes eat it, but it's much more when we're out on our walk they do it. Maybe once a week they might just have a nibble at some grass, and and that doesn't have trouble coming out, and they don't sick it back up. They just eat it. Um, Let me just go through some of the things I found out. Yeah, so they did say when I was doing research that if your dog eats a lot of grass, it could be that they are requiring fibre, or it's just a vegetable and they're requiring the vegetables. Now, I feed my dogs it is a high protein diet. It's a diet where the meat and the fish is 60 to 80%. So they don't get I mean, they're still getting 20% vegetables, but not maybe as many as some other dog foods where the protein is low. I'm not recommending a low protein diet. I think you do need the high protein because you need to get away from the grains, but that's a whole different story. I won't start on that now. So what you could do if you think your dog's eating too much grass, you could maybe just add some vegetables for their dinner. So I give my dogs I can just get like a tin of spring green beans in water. Make sure it's always in water. Make sure it's never in sugar water or salt water. And you can just do that to them. That was one thing it recommended. It's something to be careful of if they are eating grass is, has it been sprayed with chemicals? And this got me thinking. So in our garden, we don't actually have grass as in a lawn, but we have grasses around the place, and I grow wheat in pots for them because they like eating that. And it grows anyway because of feeding the birds. But so I know our garden isn't sprayed at all. But it did get me thinking when we're out on our walk, and that video this morning where Humps was eating the grass, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't spray there because it's just like, it's a public place. So I'm pretty sure they wouldn't spray chemicals on that grass there because children are playing on there and stuff like that. But I'm going to check that out. But I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't be. But if you spray your own lawn, then absolutely don't let your dog eat it. That's very dangerous for them to eat pesticides and stuff like that. But I did think about, like, sometimes where we live, there's like a gardening contract company sort of tidy up the places where we all share, like pathways to the cars and things like that. And they do come along with their weed killer and do those. So it did get me thinking, but yeah, so just something just to keep an eye out for. So I definitely wouldn't let them eat if there was supposing like sometimes you get grass just growing out of the paving slabs. I wouldn't let them eat that because I know for a fact that they would spray that with weed killer. But where Humps was this morning, I'm pretty sure they wouldn't spray there because there aren't any weeds, it's just grass. So that's what you really want to watch out for anywhere where they're going to spray for weeds. I thought that was really important. It said, on various different places where I looked, that it's just a very natural thing to do. It's just something to eat. It's just a very natural thing to do. And like Humps this morning, he'd had his breakfast, so he wasn't hungry. I think I'm going to sneeze. Sorry if I do. Yeah, it did say. I thought this was quite interesting. It was like a natural health website I found. It talked about how grass is an antacid for dogs. And I thought that was quite interesting. It was saying that if your dog eats first thing in the morning, Humps isn't giving you much. I'm sorry, you're not going to get much life out of my dogs. They've had their walk, they've had their breakfast. This is what they're doing now. um, yeah. So it did say that if your dog first thing in the morning goes out in the garden and eats lots of grass, it could be that he's got extra acid in his stomach, and that's causing him some heartburn. Now I know with Albert over there, I had a problem with him having heartburn. It didn't show up with eating grass. It showed up with him kind of sicking up like watery stuff. And it turned out that he was getting it during the night, and and sometimes it was happening during the night. He was getting the acid, and so what I did was, I gave him a snack before he went to bed, and that completely stopped it. That calmed his stomach down and stopped it. And this is what this website I found recommended: that if your dog gets up in the morning and goes outside and eats lots of grass, when you get up in the morning, give them something to eat straight away, and that calms down the acid. But please remember that if you're going to feed your dog anything in the morning, make sure there's an hour gap between before you then go out for your walk. I'm sorry, there really is absolutely no life in my house this morning. It's lovely. They're lovely, calm dogs. I love it. Um, what else did it say? No, that was it really. So I mean, the whole general thing was that it's not a massive problem. If your dog is eating a lot of grass all the time, it could be that he's irritated by something. And I'm a real big, you know how much I hate grains in dog food. I think it causes, well, I don't think it, I know it, it causes all sorts of problems. And it could be that your dog is aggravated by something's aggravating his digestive system. And that could well be grains in dog food. Um, if it was me, and if my dog was eating what I would call like grass all the time, like every day, and I was feeding them grains in their dog food. If you don't understand about dog composition, the composition of dog ingredients, I've got a whole playlist of feeding dogs, and it's all in there. Um, and if I was feeding a dog with grains in his food, I would. That's the first thing I would do is change that to a different food, because that could be something that's irritating them. But it's a fine line, isn't it? Because you've got to kind of work out, is it something that they're just doing? It's just something that dogs do. And me and my, I don't, the with vets. I hate going on about it, but I don't trust them 100%. And but they all did say on these different places I was looking that it is just a very natural thing for a dog to do. Um, and I believe them. I think it is. I think because mine are nibbling on grass and stuff, and like you saw Hubs this morning, I knew he wasn't. I know my dogs well enough to know when they're off, and he wasn't off at all, and he hasn't been sick, and he just had some grass, and it's just that. So my whole thing about it is I haven't actually changed my opinion on anything. I still don't have a problem in my dogs eating grass. I certainly wouldn't pull them away from doing it. And I really wouldn't do that anyway, because they're only eating the grass. They're either eating the grass because they just like it, which is fine, or they're eating the grass because something's wrong and the grass makes it better. So either way, I wouldn't pull my dogs, unless you think it might have chemicals on it. I wouldn't pull my dogs away from eating grass either way, because it's either fun or needed. So that's that. But yeah, I'm not. So nothing's changed really. Some of the things I've researched, especially around dog arthritis and like eggs, that was a real eye opener to me. I did not realise how bad eggs were for dogs with arthritis. And some researchers some of the stuff I just kind of picked up over the years, but some stuff I have sort of like, let's get right down to the nitty gritty. And I've researched it, and I found out some stuff that has completely changed the way I do things. Like eggs, for example. I used to always feed my dogs eggs. No more. No more. But grass, I haven't found out anything that's going to make me stop them or change anything. So yeah, I'm really not that bothered about it. I would, as always, your experience of this, anything you found out with your dog, anything you think can help other people who watch my channel, pop it into comments, and let's see if we can if we can help each other. It's all about helping the dogs, isn't it? So as always, I'm on all the socials. You know where I am. You know all the things you need to do. Click this, click that. You know how it works. But please, any questions at all, don't hesitate, ask me. I love hearing from you. I really love it when you get in contact and you tell me about your dogs and your opinions and what you're doing, and if you're asking questions and you're stuck, then of course feel free to ask me. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Hope your dog has a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.